Hello and welcome to Antoniosteveson Presents Lessons Learned, hosted by Dynasty Barbershop Studios, located right here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm your host. I will be moderating this event. I'm Christopher Ross of the Ross Cloud Podcast. This is going to be a very, very great conversation, a necessary that's needed for our community. And we're going to go ahead and get started right now. As you can see, we have some very esteemed guests that are here on today, and I'm super elated to be a part of this event. I want to say to Mark Ray, thank you again for opening up your barbershop to us so this event can be heard across North Carolina, hopefully,
Sure.
the nation. Everybody needs to hear this conversation. It's a necessary conversation. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Antonio, if you would, could you introduce your panel? And but before we start, can you tell the folks a little bit about yourself, and then go ahead and we'll start from there.
Antoniosteveson, CEO and founder of My Brother Second Chance, author of Lessons Learned, Part 1, Lessons Learned, Part 2, and The Answer to America's Crisis. Have two of my very good friends and fraternity brothers here today. We're all representing Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Right on.
But glad to have my mentor, Sheriff Bobby F. Kimbrough Jr.
Appreciate you, nephew.
And me and Mark go way back, 30 plus. I remember when he was trying to bully me on the basketball court. Now I'm in Dynasty Barber Studio, which some would consider the very best of all barber studios in Winston-Salem. You can't even call it a barber shop because
That's right.
Someone want to come in here and call this their apartment. But we're happy to be here at the barber studio today. And,
Yes, sir.
And we just want to save some lives. I hope
Yeah.
that the conversation we're about to have will be viewed and listened to by concerned citizens in our community and other communities neighboring our city. And I also hope that the next generation will pay attention, because all we're trying to do is fix things and make things safe for them, the way they used to be for us.
Absolutely. Can you tell the folks real quick why lessons learned?
Funny story. My grandfather, Joe Davis, passed away my senior year in college, and he would always tell me that there's a lesson to be learned behind every act and every choice that you make. And at that time, I was a decent football player, but I was a better student. Mm. And I dreamed of making a lot of money playing football, but that dream came to an end shortly after college.
Yeah.
So I had to come back to this city where I had caused so much ruckus and try to get a job. And things didn't go my way. And the lesson learned that I'm teaching others now is, if you mess it up, you can get a chance to fix it, but sometimes you can mess it up to the point where it take you 20 years to get the job that you should have had 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And I'm living proof that that God will give you a second chance, and that through good parenting and good mentoring, people will show a liking, a loving to you, and give you opportunity to grow, even after you make a lot of mistakes.
I love it. And I love the title. That you've come up with Lesson Learned. So this is a great segue to kind of talk a little bit more about your mentor, Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough, and how he's very valuable to our community. I've had the personal experience of watching him on a panel during the National Black Theater Festival, where I love the fact, and you know, the other thing I wanted to say before we ask you some questions, Sheriff, is I want to commend you, first of all, the level of integrity that he has as it pertains to our children, and making sure that the mission is the same. He's been consistent across the board, and that is very refreshing when we look for leadership within our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he hasn't changed at all. He's been the same ever since. Boy, that sounds like a good campaign slogan, don't it, right?
Hold on to that one.
Hold on to that one, you know what I'm saying? So if you would, as it pertains to lessons learned, and we're going to let Bobby, Sheriff Kimbrough, if you would, chime in on lessons learned a little bit more, if you would.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's an honor to be here to support Mr. Stevenson. I say that because so many times in life we forget the scripture speaks about that those that do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it again. And so you have to learn something from the lessons that life shows you. And one thing that we have to remember is that all of us will make mistakes in life, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Always remember that my destination is greater than the current situations that I'm in. And so we have to take the lessons that life gives us and figure out a way, what am I supposed to learn from that? Because there's a lesson to be learned in everything that we do, even our day-to-day life.
I love it. I love it. If you would, could you elaborate even more on that, Sheriff Kimbrough, on your mission and your goal for our community as it pertains to our young men, our young black men, but just across the board for people in general, if you would?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is all of us are products of yesterday. And every decision that we make create conditions. Decisions create conditions. What do you learn from the things that happened to you yesterday? I'm a product of yesterday. I'm a product of mistakes that I've made. You know, people see me where I am at now, but I haven't always been at this place in my life. I've made some mistakes. You know, people say all the time, they see you one way, but they don't know your story. You know, they see you walking in what they consider glory, but they don't know the story. They don't know the heartaches, the pain. They don't know that the sheriff been broke too. They don't know the sheriff that made mistakes. They don't know a lot of things. But the truth of the matter is that if you stay true to what God has for you, what the lessons that you learn are taking you to something.
Yes, sir. I love it. I love it. I couldn't have even said it better there, Sheriff Kimbrough. Now this is a great segue to go over to Mr. Ray, who is the owner and operator of Dynasty Barbershop Studios, again, located right here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. If you would, what does having a conversation like this across the board for our community, what does it mean for you? And we know that the barbershop, as it pertains to conversations, it's always the mecca for conversations within our community. What does that mean to you, being an owner of a barbershop and you're hosting such a great event?
Appreciate it. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thanks to my brother, Antoniosteveson. I'd like to say thank you to Sheriff Kimbrough for coming. Thanks for allowing us to host this event, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. So with Dynasty Barber Studio, what we do here is, man, we serve. You know, that's pretty much what we go by. Excellence in every endeavor.
Yeah.
You know, so we're here to serve everybody that comes through that door. No, it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. We're here to serve you. So I'm here to just serve, be a servant to the people in the community. Hope that we give back. We've had numerous events to give back. So that's what we do here at Dynasty Barber Studio. We give back. It's been such an honor. God gave me this vision a long time ago.
Yeah.
Mainly like 25, 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And this wasn't built overnight. It took about 26 years for this to come to fruition. And I'm able to stand on both of my feet and say I'm very proud of myself. That's not bragging or boasting.
Yeah.
That's just being proud, coming from a family with a single mother, no father there. But, you know, my father was a guy that taught me everything of what not to be.
Sure.
Although it wasn't a good relationship, it was the best one I could have had because without me seeing those things of what not to do, I'm able to do what I'm doing today and be the father that I needed in my life then to my family and to other kids in the community. So, you know, this place here is just such a blessing. People love to come, but they hate to leave because we're here to serve them. So, you know, that's what we do here at Dynasty Barber Studio.
Thank you, man. Well said, brother. Well said. You're very welcome. So this is a great segue to go back. I heard you kind of elude a little bit to kind of while we were really sparking this conversation, some of the absence of the father in the home, and also solutions that we can bring to this problem that we see happening. We could even go far as some of the music. We could, you know, we could go so far at the guns being at the very top tier of why we're seeing a lot of things happening with our kids, but the influence behind a lot of these things that we have happening within our society as it pertains to our children. If you would, Antonio Stevens, could you kind of build on that a little bit more? We alluded to a little bit earlier before, but I would like for you to expound on it a little bit more, and then we'll shoot it right on over to Sheriff Kimbrough.
Yes, sir. I too am a product of single parent background. God rest her soul, passed away in 2020. And I tell people all the time, I'm the son of Lily Stevenson. And my mom did the very best she could. I remember times she worked 3 jobs. And a lot of the turmoil I created was because I knew I could get away with it because my mom was busy. And I had an absent father. My father went to prison. I was raised by Ben Stevenson. That's my dad. And I love him to death, taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about life. But what I tell people all the time is the kids we're dealing with now, when they don't have a father, they turn directly to the streets and the gangs accept them open arms. And over the past 20 years, I've mentored over 5,000 kids, but I've offered my program to over 10,000. So for every 1 or 2 that say no, 1 says yes. And I'm blessed to been able to be in those lives of those kids. But it's a flip side to it. I've lost some kids as well. I buried some kids that came into my program and just wanted to be there for a second. They didn't want to finish. Finish means you finish high school and you try college or you get you a job. Proud to say that 2 years ago, me and my wife were at the state fair. Kid walked up to us. My memory is getting bad. I'm hitting my 50s, and I did not know him. But he is a graduate of North Carolina Central. And stayed down there and went to North Carolina Central Law School. Came up to me out of the blue, gave me a hug. I was, protecting myself.
Sure.
And he said, I just want to tell you, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. And I was like, you play it off to try to remember. I said, yeah, man, how you doing? He said, oh, man, because of you, I'm a lawyer now. He said, my city gave up on me. He said, you told me your story of how the city threw you away. And unfortunately, the city still throws kids away when they can't help them. I'm lucky because I live it. I've survived some of it. And now I work for the school system. I run the mentoring department for the school system. Most amazing superintendent that Winston-Salem has ever had, Ms. McManus, gave me an opportunity to come back. I had left the school system. I was working at QEA, but the kids that we're interacting with, they get to walk up to their school resource officers that are sheriffs, on-duty sheriffs, and they're able to talk to them. Had a rough night, man. I just need somebody to talk to. That's the first time.
Gotcha.
It hasn't been like that. That relationship was cultivated through Sheriff Kimbrough.
Absolutely.
I'm not bad-mouthing who did the job before.
Right.
I'm just saying now.
No.
It's a love relationship and not a love-hate relationship.
Yes.
And I'm glad to be a part of the process, and I'm glad that I've had sheriffs on my mentoring department as mentors. So it's because they trust me because I call Sheriff Kimbrough Unc. This is my guy. He's my mentor. So everything came full circle when I came back to the school system because I don't have to fake it. And kids are very, very smart. They know when you're faking it. And they know when they're getting false love. And that makes them not want to accept anyone.
Right.
So my buy-in is that I used to be them. Been shot, been stabbed, made some terrible choices. Not bragging. I was lucky.
No, you just
I came from a praying mother and a praying community. And so when I turn to them now, when I say, you might not be as lucky as me. Oh, we saw what you drove up in. You ain't had it rough. No, I had it rough. The first time I can remember turning a key in a doorknob, we lived in Lakeside Villas. And the second community we lived in was City View. We stayed off of 3010 Apollo Drive. So when people say, man, I grew up rough, me too. Me too. I remember going to a neighbor's house getting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because my mom was at her 3rd job. And that was the community we lived in, Miss Dot, right around the corner, across the street, Miss Perrin,
Yeah.
Pat Perrin's mom,
Yeah.
Miss Mumford. These are people who sacrificed to make sure that me and my brother were looked out for because my mom was at work.
Absolutely.
And she got married, we moved to Ebony Hills, and we thought we were living in a mansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it was a community where everyone looked out for everyone.
Yeah.
I walk up into Parkland High School now doing my job, and I see Mr. Gordon. Man used to give me a whooping. If he heard me cussing or saying something crazy, you got a whooping right there. And then he'd tell your parents, I whooped him.
Yeah.
And to see that man still doing the same thing he did for us,
Yeah.
it's a passion.
Yeah.
And I do what I do now because of all the men I grew up, respecting.
Yes.
I don't know where I'd be without Dan Pickett Sr.
Yeah.
I don't know where
Yeah.
I'd be without Sam Puryear
Yeah.
Sr.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Harrison.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on. But when people ask me, like, what was your turning point? My turning point was when Sheriff Kimbrough walked up to me. He walked up to me, he said, this is the only break I'm going to give you. He said, after this, I got to do my job.
That's right.
And I wasn't a dope boy. I wasn't, out here hurting anyone. But I was playing around with fire.
Yeah.
And that was the best warning at the time that I needed. And my mom said, look, get you a job
Yeah.
and get you some more friends.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And Sheriff Kimbrough looked me in my eye and said, show me your friends. I'll show you your future.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yes,
at
sir.
that point, I had to change my course.
Absolutely.
And here we are.
Yeah, yeah. Here we are, and a great segue, because what I heard from you was solutions to your problems, and we know that Sheriff Kimbrough is a man that believes in solutions to a problem.
100%
Not a whole bunch of
transparent.
very transparent. Not a whole bunch of excuses. But let's figure out a solution. And I've heard him say it on several occasions. He's a solutions-driven sheriff. And so where did that come from, Sheriff Kimbrough, you as a leader, to say, hey, we can make a whole bunch of excuses, but we need to have solutions for each problem that we're talking about, and then execute them. So if you would, kind of build on that a little bit, and take your time, take as long as you want to kind of talk about solutions when it comes to the community.
First, again, I was listening to what my brothers were saying. Everything they're saying is relevant. We talk about the household, we talk about the families. I want to give a special shout out to the women that hold our families down in absence of men.
Yes.
I started thinking about when you were talking about fathers and absent fathers. My son came home yesterday from school. He was having a rough day, so he's down at UNC Charlotte. And he came home and we were sitting on the back porch, and he was expressing a lot of things. And he was talking about having grown up without his mother. He was 19 months when his mother passed. And he was telling me, Dad, you've given me the things on how to be a man. You were this way, but I missed that touch of a woman. And I have to say that in a household, a man provides a certain set of emotions. A woman gives the same thing. They both bring something to the table. If you think about a garden, how they put a stick, the wrap to make sure that it goes up straight. That way it don't lean one side or the other way. Having grown up with the father, my boys miss a lot of loving factors that a mother gives. And so when we talk about the household, we have to talk about a balance, right? Yeah. And so when we talk about our community, we have to look at the balance. You look at cycle, systems, and circles. We have to break the cycle that keeps happening in our community, because it puts us in a system. And how do you break that? By breaking the circle. And you can't break the circle until we really acknowledge what the problem is. Most of the time in our community, and just in life, forget our community for a second, most of the time we always talk about the fruit, but never want to address the root. What causes this? If we really want to have real conversations, and I'm not one to have conversations that don't have no meaning to them.
Yes.
I try to stay away from those.
Yes.
You know, I try to stay with conversations that are factual.
Yeah.
If you want to be factual, you want to talk about the communities, I want to ask you these questions. You tell me where the highest poverty rate is. You tell me where the highest illiteracy rate is. You tell me where the highest crime rate is. You tell me where the food deserts are. Here's what I'm going to tell you before you answer the question. They're all in the same area. So how do you expect, or what are you expecting from that? I can create circumstance to give you the final product. It's like if I set landmines throughout this room right here, eventually a lot of you gonna step on them landmines.
That's right.
Of course, a few gonna make it out.
Yeah.
That's just the odds.
Yeah.
So if we really want to talk about it, we got to have real conversations.
Yeah.
We got to have real conversations.
Yeah.
We can't dance around. It's not to put blame on who's at fault.
Yes.
But we got to talk about it. When you go to the doctor is not concerned with what happened. That's not what first he want to fix you, and then we can go back and talk about it.
Yeah.
When we talk about lessons learned and things like that, all of us are going through something. All of us as human beings are searching for something.
Yes.
We all are.
Yeah.
The problem with this is that so many of us don't want to share our stories. That's why I refer to him as nephew, for sharing his story and being transparent.
Yeah.
Because remember this, when somebody looks at him and say, he's been through what he's been through, and look at him now. When somebody look at Sheriff Kimbrough or Bobby Kimbrough, before I was the sheriff, before I was an agent, before I was all these things, I was broke, I was angry, I contemplated doing something to myself at one point in my life.
Yes.
Because here's what I would tell you. When you start to tell your story and people look at you and say, you know what? Look what God brought him to, and look where he brought him from.
Yeah.
The problem is most of us don't want to be transparent and tell our story.
That's right.
Because the story ain't to be told, the story is to be told. You don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
But when somebody tells you, listen, I've been where you at. I can get you from here to there. When this man walks up and say, look, I was you once upon a time.
Yes, sir.
When I go to some young boys and say, guess what? I could have been a lot of things in life. I grew up on East 25th Street.
Yes, sir.
Was born in Happy Hill on Free Street. I could have been a lot of things in life.
Absolutely.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Besides what I am today.
Yeah.
But it was because of people telling me this, and that. There's a gentleman by the name of Kenny Ray Harrison. Kenny's probably about 70 plus now. As a young boy growing up in East Winston, I used to play basketball and then sit on the picnic table and drink Boom Farm and Mad Dog. That might be before your time.
No.
You probably don't know what Boom Farm is.
Oh, I know what Boom Farms is.
Well, I used to sit on the picnic table at 14 years old.
Yeah.
After playing basketball, instead of drinking water, I throw some Boom Farm up, a Mad Dog.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, he came up to me one day and slapped me. Now, this was a man that was a heroin addict. Slapped me and told me the next time, every time he saw me with alcohol, he was going to do something to me. Now, if any of you that know Kenny Ray Harrison, Kenny was 6'7", went to Washington State, came back home on a basketball scholarship.
Wow.
I was fearful of Kenny. But what he told me was this. He said, if you keep doing that, you're going to be me. You're going to be I coulda, shoulda, but I didn't. And every time he said that to me, he would tell me that I was special. He would tell me that I'm somebody. I had a father and a mother in my household, right?
Yeah.
I had a father and a mother. And he would tell me that you're special. You're going to get out of here. You got something greater than this. And then after a while, I started believing it. Because here's what I know in life. That's a fact. So as a man thinketh, so is he.
Yes.
And if you think about this, the meditations create the articulation, which creates a presentation, which sets you up for your desired destination.
Yes.
In other words,
I
I can tell you, if you re-engineer that, where a man is, I can tell you what he was thinking, I can show you his presentation, and I can connect it to what he was thinking. But now when somebody's telling you they love you, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that I didn't want to do was disappoint my dad.
Yeah.
So I stopped drinking at 15 years old. I hadn't had a drink of alcohol since then,
Wow.
right? What I'm telling you is that conversation like this matters.
Yes.
Because there's a generation that's watching us, and what they see will affect their vision, ultimately will determine what they'll be. So the question is, what are we seeing and what are we showing them?
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Strong.
Boy, it's very strong.
Powerful.
I love it. I love it. Very, very powerful. Thank you, Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough. I appreciate that. Those words were very much so needed. And I heard you say something about landmines, and I'm going to allude to Tiny a little bit about some of those landmines. We alluded to a little bit earlier, conversation pre the podcast, and as Sheriff has stated so eloquently, he said it the best. We got to be transparent. We got to talk about some of the unforgiveness. We got to talk about the toxic relationships sometimes between women and men, the fussing and the arguing in front of the children, and how that can stagnate the growth within the family, the co-parenting aspect, the importance of two mature individuals needing to be able to cultivate that relationship so that the children can be developed to its full capacity. If you would, can you elaborate a little bit more on that particular landmine, and then talk about therapy too within that dynamics? Because we know divorce happens, separations happen, those things, they happen in our adult lives. So if you would, kind of talk about that a little bit.
I've seen some pretty rough situations. I've probably seen too much. I've seen abuse. I've seen children being used as pawns. Since you don't want to be in our life, you can't see your son. I've seen that situation go left. I've seen a young man that almost took his life because he couldn't see his dad. But on the outside looking in, it was mom saying, oh, he don't want to be a dad, he don't want to be around, but he really had just moved on to another relationship and he wanted to be around his son. It's some terrible situations, guys that walk away from their families, and there's some families that walk away from fathers too. And I don't think there is enough said about men fighting to be in their children's lives.
Yep.
I think we get the bad rap sometimes. And this world is all about money. So let's just put him on child support, ruin his life. He can barely make it. He'll just get just enough to pay his bills, and after that, he had to starve. When I guarantee you, most children would say, look, keep the money. Let me just have some time with my dad. So it's some rough situations. It can go either or, but I think the landmines are, you see them early and you still step on it. Maybe it's not gonna hurt as bad, but I gotta try to get to the other side. I think some of the landmines that I've seen personally are just lack of understanding and lack of communication. So since we can't talk this out and we can't understand each other, you go your way, I go mine. That first step is a landmine because you're leaving your child behind. I've seen homes broken up over just small misunderstanding. It can't be that serious where you would leave your family just because you no longer want to be here. It's a lack of love, lack of understanding, and probably never was love in some of these situations. I'm a father of 3 daughters, and I can tell you I've done my very best, but there are some that would say I could have done better, and that's their opinion. But God didn't give me any boys. He gave me an opportunity to have a mentoring program so I could give back. And I see some of these young men that are broken and don't know how to fix it or get fixed. And I put mentors in their lives. I mentored them myself until I can find someone trustworthy enough. But over the last few years, it's just been me and my guys that I know, my friends, my brothers, put in that much needed time. Like Sheriff Kimbrough said, if that steak isn't sticking up, then it's leaning to one side. And that if you don't get to them fast enough, these same kids that took the same pictures in middle school smiling, they'll pop up and make the state and local paper like, this is it. Gang banging, going bad.
So let me, have you ever thought about this? So many times in life, our children are who they have to be rather than who they want to be.
Yeah.
In other words, it's almost like an abusive situation. I am who I am because I have to survive that situation.
Yeah.
So when you talk about our communities, are our children who they want to be or who they have to be? And then the thing that we've got to press upon one another is that because I'm here today don't mean I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
In other words, all facts are not final. In other words, it could be factual that I'm hurting and broken today,
Yeah.
but that's not the finality of it.
Yes.
right? I was sitting here just now when one of my mentors came in. I saw Brother Reynolds come in, right? It's folk like in our community, all of us have the ability to shape one another's lives.
Yeah.
We all do. All of us have something. When people see you, facts, people call it profile. You call it what you want to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anytime you lay eyes on someone, you get an image in your mind of who, what. That's the reason that Mercedes put an emblems on their car.
That's
so
right.
It sets it out there, right?
Yeah.
That's why every vehicle you drive, it has an emblem
Yes.
that gives you what that car represents. When people see you walk up on a situation, they're already sizing you up.
Yeah.
The same thing happens when we talk about our community, right? What are you bringing to change the atmosphere?
Yeah. Yeah.
All of us have the ability to change atmospheres.
Yes.
When you walk into your household and your wife is there, the atmosphere changes.
Yes.
When the pastor walks up and takes the pulpit, the atmosphere changes.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. When you start changing atmospheres, you start changing outcomes. So the problem is, are we willing? We talk about our communities.
Yeah.
It ain't going to get no better. The police can't save you.
No.
The sheriff's office can't save you.
That's right.
The savior is you, me.
Yeah.
We've got to go back to our own communities.
Yeah.
We can't sit here and keep saying we're waiting on something.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
God is giving you what you need.
Yeah.
He's giving you. You know what? The scripture talks about this. Prayer without works is what?
Dead.
It's dead.
Yeah.
So we can pray, but if we ain't willing to go back into those communities, if we ain't willing to go over there and grab some of these kids and show them something different, because they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. Thanks.
They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We took a group of kids down to Atlanta and Alabama on what we called a summer trip.
Yeah.
And just show you how, for lack of better words, how strange it was. If you're coming down into Atlanta and you're going into 85, going down 85, right?
Yeah.
There's what they call the Spaghetti Junction where they got the big highway. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
One of the kids thought that we had pulled up at an amusement park because he saw the bridge that was so high, he thought it was a roller coaster.
Wow.
You have people who have never been out of their communities, never been to Greensboro,
Wow.
never been to a Wake Forest football game.
Wow.
Wake Forest is right up the street. Never been to an ACC game. Why is that? And we asked the question, why is our communities like that? It's not rocket scientists.
No, it's not.
It's not rocket scientists. I heard Bishop Fulton say this, and it was a great analogy. He talked about working on his farm one day. He has chickens on his farms, and he talks about that he went out one day and he ran out of feed to drop to feed his chicken.
Yes.
And he noticed that because he didn't drop enough feed for all of them to eat, they start fighting amongst each other for the feed. And if you take that and simplify it as we talked about in our communities, we're all fighting for resources.
Yes.
We talked about nephew, you referred to him as Tiny. I never call him that. I call
Yes.
him nephew
Yes.
or his full name.
Yeah.
But nephew referred to resources and money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Money gives you access.
Yeah.
Money gives you resources
That's
to
right.
do some things.
Yeah.
When you talk to some of the young boys that's out there hustling, they hustling for money.
Something
Yeah.
they want.
Yeah.
They want money.
Yeah. They want money. Right.
The new color of hope is green. Cash money.
Yeah.
We go to work for money.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the ability to read, write, and compete in this society, that relegates you to a whole nother work environment and a whole nother culture.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
I want to add one thing.
Please. Thank you, Chef.
That's why I love Ashley Furniture and Goodwill so much. Because
I love it too, though.
Ashley Furniture has hired 24 kids,
Yeah.
or 25 kids in the last 2 years that I've referred.
Yeah.
Goodwill has hired 15 kids that I've referred. And a kid asked me, he said, man, how is life growing up without a father? And I told him, it's like walking around in the dark, trying to find your way.
Yeah.
Because a father will show you the way. A good father will anyway.
Yeah.
And my mom, not slighting my mom, because I had some uncles that loved me to death, my grandfather. But oftentimes when you need those mentors and that guidance, they're living their own life. And so I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't grow up trying to be like Mike. I wanted to be like my older brother.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like Chris Turner. I wanted to be a good athlete, a great student, and a good pillar of the community.
Yes.
It just didn't go that way for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I made some bad choices, and I had to live with the outcomes.
Yes.
But God kept me around here long enough to meet some amazing mentors, and I feel like I owe it to my community to give back, and that's why I do what I do. I've seen Mark cut hair at a school, start cutting hair at 8 o'clock, and didn't stop until 2 o'clock and charged nobody one dime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's not just an okay barber, he's A1.
Absolutely.
And when he gets paid well for what he does because he deserves so.
Yes.
But I
yes.
watched him cut over 100 kids' hair because picture day was the next day.
Yes.
And they only needed him for an hour or so, but he stayed all day.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
It just came to my mind.
Sure.
I don't know what it's like to have grown up without a father. My father's been there with me since I was born. I feel fortunate, mother and father. We've been talking about houses that are absence of fathers for, I know, 20 years.
Yes.
Right?
A long time.
But the question is this: what are we going to do about that? If we know what the problem is, and if you say that the problem is too many houses without a father, then what's the solution?
Us,
Us.
mentoring.
That's, yeah.
We are mentoring. Yeah.
We all need to and have to
Yes.
step up.
Facts.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
What's the delay? If you know what the solution is, right? It's like, if you know what the solution is and you have the ability to resolve it, then why won't you? Why do you think we won't?
So we as a
Because
community,
there's not a shortage. There's not a shortage of men.
Oh no.
We gotta
no,
give
no,
back.
No. We got to give back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that now you get down to the root of the problem. We got to change how we see one another.
That too. Yeah.
We got to change how we see one another.
Yeah.
Because how I see you will determine what I will do for you and what I will attempt to do to you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've got to change and realize that I am my brother's keeper.
Yes.
You either going to be your brother's keeper or we're going to be our brother's pallbearers. Those are just facts. That's what's happening every day.
Yeah.
that's it.
There's
Yeah.
a funeral happening every day.
Every single day. Right now.
And if you were to be truthful about it, if you were to name the top 5 killers of black men, the top 5 killers of black men, you ain't got to think hard for that one.
No.
Number one is us.
Us. Yeah. Yeah. Number one.
So if the top killers of black men is black men, that's an easy answer. It's an easy fix.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We've got to do a better job of loving ourselves.
That's it.
Yeah. When I see you, I should say, that's my brother.
Yeah.
I love my brother.
And we got to
What
teach
can I
our
do?
children.
Got to teach the same thing.
We're older gentlemen. We understand that.
Oh, yes.
But we got to go back because you got 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids carrying real guns, not toy guns, but real guns.
Yeah.
We've got to go back and create a whole different mindset of young men and young girls. We've got to do that because the numbers are increasing. The number of people that are going to jail versus college is increasing. The number of people that are dying in Winston every year has been increasing. And so, at what point do we as a community, at what point as a community do we get mad about it? Help me understand that. We'll get mad about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we'll protest about a lot of stuff.
We do.
But when do we get mad about what's happening in our communities? When do we get mad about our kids not being able to compete intellectually? When do we get mad about the things that happen in our community? When do we get mad about that? At some point, if you don't care, guess what?
Yeah.
And these are answers that we know the answers.
Absolutely, we do.
So until we get to this point to where we're ready to start coming together, you asking for solutions. We have task force that fight drugs. We have task force that fight human trafficking, right? But how about a task force that deals with human issues in your community? Right?
Yeah.
Huge need.
Huge need.
Yeah.
There are some things that happen on the east side of town that dare not happen in the west.
West side of town.
Facts.
Right. Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Preach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can walk to 1, 2, 3, 4 grocery stores, include Lowe's, Publix, Harris Teeter's, Food Line on the west side. You got one grocery store over there. What you got? Food Line.
Yeah.
And you done.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a wrap. Yeah.
And so these are things that we have been knowing for years. And I'm gonna give you this one, then I'm done.
Okay.
And you can fact check me. Just fact check it. Fact check it. The life expectancy, if you live in a certain zip code in this city. Facts. A certain zip code. And I'm not gonna call it out, I'm gonna let you fact check it. But I'll tell you that it is in the east. If you live in a certain zip code, you have a 14-year life expectancy less than if you live somewhere else. Now here's the thing about that. It didn't wake up one morning, it was 14 years. It has been climbing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all those factors that go into that are the ACE factors, adverse childhood experience, poverty, violence. Now, if we have been knowing that every year they have been increasing, what say we do about it? What are we going to do about it? We have an accountability to this problem. All of us do. All of us do. All of us that say we came out of Winston, that come out of East Winston or come out of Winston-Salem, period.
Yeah.
Period. Period. We've got to learn to support one another. We've got to learn, to love one another.
Yeah.
Until we get to that, a shift of the mindset,
Yeah.
we're going to be having these same conversations.
Conversations. I
And
agree.
unfortunately,
I agree.
everything he's talking about is by design.
Yes.
I even went down to the library a few months ago and saw this segment on design behind the red line, and it was talked about how certain races weren't allowed to buy homes outside of the red line. Like Clemens and Kernersville was never meant to be home to black folk, and to keep us all together in poverty. And now what's happening now was by design. Us hating each other,
Yeah.
us killing each other, it's all by design. And unfortunately, we play right into it. And like he said 10 minutes ago, the police can't save you and the sheriff department can't save you.
Not at all.
If you're a concerned parent and you're not flipping mattresses at your own home where you pay the bills, if you're not checking these rooms that these children are in and finding these guns and what are the other things that cause them to not listen and not be here too long, then you're part of the problem.
And how do we in our community, I can watch somebody kill another man and I ain't seen nothing.
Yeah.
I don't understand that concept.
Yeah.
That blows
Yeah.
my mind. Right?
Yeah, that snitches get stitches thing.
Well, guess what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to get a stitch then. Because guess what? I got to look in the mirror every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And what happens is we keep perpetuating that same
thing over and over
cycle,
again. Yeah.
which creates the same systems.
Yes.
And here we are again. And until we decide and get seriously mad about it, right? And we can't keep hanging our hat on yesterday. I understand the effects of yesterday.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
guess what? I can't hang my hat there
Yeah.
the rest of my life.
Oh no,
You gotta
not
break
at
the
all.
cycle like you
yeah,
said.
you got to
gotta
break the
break-
cycle. Yeah.
You got to break it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You got to.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't break a cycle unless you break the circle.
That's right. That's right. Mark, would you like to have anything else to say in closing?
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what Sheriff Kimbrough said and
Yeah.
my brother Tony said, you talking about breaking cycles. I believe it comes down to a choice. You know, my father wasn't there for me. I grew up in a single mother home. But I knew at the age of 15, I was going to be a businessman.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to be anything like my father, although my father showed me what not to be. I knew I wasn't, but that was my choice. I could have easily chose to do what he did on drugs, drinking. For one of the main reasons why I don't drink and I've never smoked, because I was afraid that I would turn out like that. So when I say my dad was a role model, he was my role model of what not to do and be. So I decided to break a cycle, you know, and the things that I've done in my life was, you know, I was in church with you. We grew up around great men.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of these kids don't have that.
Yeah.
Even men in the church back then when I was in the church. I'm still in the church, but when I was growing up, I had mentors. We had each other. We held each other accountable.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't know how many of these kids hold each other accountable from being street friends versus brothers, like
Yeah.
accountability brothers.
Yeah.
So like the cycle that I decided to break was to be better,
Yeah.
to be the person that I've been called to be the man that I need to be for my family, to be the man that I need to be for the kids that I've coached,
Yeah.
to be the coach that I need to be for the people in the school, girls, boys. So, you know, the cycle has to be broken, but you have to make a choice to make that change, to break that cycle. If not, the cycle, like they say, the cycle is just gonna repeat itself. And if you don't break that cycle, you're in the system. Now you become in the system, or you part of a system. So I'm a big believer of making smart choices. But if you don't know how to make a smart choice, how can you make that smart choice? I'm a solutions guy here at the Barber Studio. When you know what a problem is, don't focus on the problem. Now we have to focus on the solution. So I'm a solutions guy as well, because it's easy to focus on what we know that's causing the problem. But if you don't know how to find a solution or come up with a solution, you can't focus on that. So a lot of attention remains focused on the problem. And I just can't believe like the problem should get more attention than the solution. You know, like you have to give some type of solution, some type of attention. So I'm just appreciative of what my mom gave me, what she had.
Yeah.
I knew that it could have been more, but I'm so appreciative of what she did give me.
Yeah.
I ask that people pray for me and my family.
Yeah.
Going through something with my mom right now. So just pray. Please pray for us. And again, I appreciate you brothers, man, for allowing us to host this event. Sheriff Kimbrough, your work is not going unnoticed.
That's right.
Tiny, my brother, your work is not going unnoticed.
Thank you,
man.
brother.
Yes.
So Chris Ross, the Ross Cloud Podcast, man,
Yes.
this is great.
Yeah.
I'm just appreciative. I'm in awe of this. I really didn't have much to say because, man,
Good
like
thing is, it ain't over. We finna sign some
finna
books.
do more.
There it
Finna
is.
sign some books, and thank y'all for having me. Dynasty Barber Studio, Sheriff Kimbrough, my guy Mark, I appreciate
Yes, sir. Love you, man. Love you, Coach.
Ross.
You're very welcome.
So, look, I hope y'all enjoyed this podcast. I'm finna go sign some books. I'm holding some
Hey, yo,
people
come
up.
out to 2652 Peters Creek Parkway to get your book signed by my brother Antonio Big Tiny Stevenson.
Yes.
Lessons Learned 1. What's the second one?
The answer.
The answer.
To America.
Come get
Like
the
we been
answer.
Talking about. We
And
need
Lessons
more
Learned
mentoring.
2.
We need
Come
more
get it.
mentoring.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Lessons Learned Part 3, but Part 2. Part 3 is on the way.
Let's get it.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
y'all.
Appreciate
Antonio
y'all.
presents
Appreciate you, bro.
Lessons Learned,
Yes, sir.
moderated by Christopher Ross here at Dynasty Barbershop Studios here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Make it a great day. Peace.